All right, hopefully everyone is doing well out there. We've got a Washington Wizards off-season video, a little bit of a deep dive for about the next 9 minutes. You can find the Wizards off-season article on ESPN.com, along with all the other teams that are not in the postseason or teams that are going to be eliminated. We add it every time. So right now we've got 10. By the weekend, we're going to have 14. We'll have 14 videos. The Wizards are the final team. My dog is right down there licking. I don't know why she's doing that. Regarding the Wizards, it feels like we're at deja vu, right? 4 of the past 5 years in the lottery, consistently hanging around that 35 to 36 win mark, like just in the middle of kind of the woods without a way to get out. And I saw bits and pieces of Tommy Shepard, who's their GM's, of the Wizards postseason, and disgusted was one of the words he used, disappointed, and I think that kind of sums it up. Anytime you commit $251 million to Bradley Beal last year, you're not supposed to be, knock on wood, basically in the same position you were, and that's in the lottery with a better draft pick. Yes, you have a 6.8% chance at number 1. And as I've said in all these other videos, that changes the dynamics of a lot of things. You jump into the top 2, that changes the dynamics about everything about this organization. We can say that about Detroit, Houston, San Antonio, Portland, Orlando. We can say it about everything. I mean, basically, the Wizards, in essence, are the East Coast version of the Trailblazers, where you've got a player on a big-time contract in Bradley Beal. Do you have the pieces around him to kind of accelerate what you're trying to do? And we're going to go in there as far as looking at what the options are going to be. Like, my big thing with Beal, who had an efficient year but just can't stay on the court, 96 games he's missed in the last 4 years. This is after playing 82 in 17-18 and 18-19. Career high 51% from the field, 37% on threes. Consistently 22, 23, a drop from where he was at 30. 13 and 14 in clutch time games when he's on the court, 2 and 11 without him. So yes, he's a difference maker. Here's the $1 million question. Is he good enough to be your number 1 guy? And is he good enough to build your roster around? I think he's a solid number 2. I don't think he's a franchise player, and that's nothing against Bradley Beal. But that's the reality of it. And I don't blame the Wizards last year for giving him that big contract, because it's a lot easier to sign a player, either keep him or eventually move him down the road, instead of manipulating cap space and going out and signing a free agent, and then you're sitting there with $30 million in room. Now, the big thing is that you better hope that the contract still has value. I believe it does, but $50 million plus is a huge number as far as the average of. Similar to where Damian Lillard is. We all talk about Damian Lillard having this big market. Like, who? I don't see teams out there willing to give up 3 or 4 first-round picks. I'd be stunned, especially with these new CBA rules coming in. And that leads to the big question of, as you see behind me, and compared to Utah and San Antonio and some of these other teams, this is limited. Indiana, another team, they've got their first-round pick, 6.8% chance. They've got 2 seconds. What else? How do we build this roster? Now it comes down to Kristaps Porzingis, player option. Kyle Kuzma, player option. Are you comfortable committing $100 million plus to Beal, Kuzma, and Porzingis? And if you're not, what are your options? It's not like all of a sudden you let Kuzma go, you keep Porzingis, and you already have Beal, and now all of a sudden you open up $25 million in cap space. That ain't happening. The only way you're going to open up cap space is that you basically let both guys walk, and you basically have Beal on an island by himself, and you might as well just trade him. So those are some of your decisions. Both guys have player options. Kuzma's coming off a beyond team-friendly contract. He's going to be probably $20 million. Porzingis is at $36 million. He had a heck of a year, a career year off the board. He's extension eligible for 4 for $180 up until June 30th. I don't believe he's kind of like where Kyrie is a little bit. I think he's a max player, but I'm not committing 3 or 4 years based on his durability and my concerns. So both guys have until June 21st to opt in or opt out of the contract. I expect at least Kuzma to. Maybe there's a deal to work out for Porzingis. If Porzingis declines his option, the best way to do it is, because you can start him low, the best thing to do is give him length in years, but about $8 or $9 million less than that $36 million number. So you at least have some flexibility where you're going to stay under luxury tax. Kuzma averaged a career high 21 points, but a career high 18 shots per game, right? Here's a stat. Per second spectrum, ranked 59th in field goal percentage on jump shots among 61 players with 500 plus attempts. Bottom 2, bottom 3 in the NBA. Points went up, shots went up, efficiency went down. So those are your two main options there as far as bringing those two backs. With those players on your books as is, okay? With Kuzma at his $36 million player option, at Beal at $12, $13 million, you're $8 million below the luxury tax. That includes your first round pick. So there's not much flexibility. So that's why it's like a seesaw. Like Porzingis, you want to come down, and then Kuzma's going to go up, where you try to balance it and you stay under the luxury tax, because the last thing you want to do is be in a tax when you're a 35, 36 win team. But for me, you've drafted in the lottery Johnny Davis, Denny, Kispert, I think was 15 or 16 right outside. Eventually, you got to nail one of these picks. Like, you've got to nail one of these picks. I mean, the crazy thing I put up here in the article is since 2013, the only player to sign a rookie extension is John Wall. That's 9 years. Beal's situation was a little different because they didn't extend him because they wanted to use his cap hold to go out and use cap space. He would have been extended, so you could throw him in the mix there. But Denny's extension eligible, 9 points a game. One of the better rebounding forwards out there, top 97 percentile per cleaning the glass in defensive rebounding. Are you comfortable? Marvin Bagley type numbers, $12, $13 million there. So you've got to nail your draft pick. I mean, we saw Johnny Davis at the end of the year. He was basically in the witness protection program in a developmental phase for a guy that was drafted in the lottery. Those guys have to make an impact as far as where their roster is. You don't control your draft picks. That's the other problem, too. You owe New York a first-round pick in 2024. That's top 12 protected. And then the protections in 25 and then 26. Protection goes down, so that there's a chance that might be conveyed. You can't trade out until 2 years after the conditions have been met, so the earliest would be 2026, so you're limited there. And then that brings you back to Beal. No trade clause. If you're looking at the big picture here, and you say to yourself, is it just health? Is it just health, a healthy Kuzma, a healthy Porzingis, and a healthy Beal? Where do you see our roster right now? Do you see us where Cleveland is? Do you see us where the Knicks are? Certainly Brooklyn's a little bit different because there's two different teams. There's the Durant teams, and then there's the Bridges teams. I think that Nets team is a team fighting for a playing spot next year and not a 6 seed here. So do you rip off the Band-Aid and do you say to basically it's Portland and Lillard, like, I don't know how this roster can get better unless our young players are going to take that jump. And I don't think they're there yet. This is a conversation probably next year to have. You basically run this back, sign Porzingis and Kuzma, stay under the luxury tax. Hopefully you get lucky. You're still going to need some type of upgrade at point guard. I mean, the Morris-Wright combination is fine. I just lost my placeholder here. But eventually you're going to need a long-term you're going to need a long-term fit there. I had a good number for them from my guy, Matt Williams. Where are they? I'm sorry. Here we go. Team needs. I just said it depends on if you need more scoring from your point guard position. Morris and Wright both ranked in the top 10 in assist to turnover ratio among players with 100-plus assists. However, the Wizards' point guards ranked 29th in points per game, only ahead of the Bulls. And we know that the mess in Chicago with no Lonzo and is basically a rotating door here. So that's my synopsis on the Wizards. When you're picking 6, 7, 8, that board should be full. That board should not look like what Portland is, where you're limited with your resources to build your roster going forward. That should say 24 future draft picks, 12 first, 12 seconds, cap flexibility. It shouldn't say, I'm not sure if I'm ready to commit $100+ million to Kuzma, Porzingis, and Beal. And that's something that the Wizards are going to have to figure out. And if they don't, a year from now, we're going to be doing this video, and I'm going to be talking to you about a 37-38 win team. That's it. Hopefully everyone is having a great day, and we will talk soon.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.